Hello, everybody. It's 8:54 p.m. Central Time on the 18th of June, 2025, Wednesday night here in the USA. And I was just kind of scanning over the earthquakes. You could see me just poking around here without talking, but figure I'll get on and just kind of quickly run over what's going on. So it's been over 7 days since I did my forecast, and it looks like we're about a magnitude under across the board. Plus, we have not yet seen a large earthquake next to our deep earthquakes, but it's been now 8 days, and we look 7 to 10 days for the deep earthquakes like this. So we're like nearing the end of the forecast, and we have not seen our large earthquake, and the rest of the locations are about a magnitude under. So that's good for all the locations, but I'm wondering where the energy has gone. However, that being said, look at the spots that did get hit. So from Tokyo to Hokkaido to the Kuril Islands, for instance, that's the largest activity of the week. Multiple sixes. So 6 at Hokkaido, 6 at Kuril Islands, 5 halfway down the ridge, if you want to think of it like that, and then another 5.1 just south of Tokyo. And if you listen to my update 8 days ago, talked about the flip-flop that we'd watch between Tokyo and Hokkaido, and I said it would either be one or the other. Well, here we are. I mean, if you add these together, the 6 and the 6, that's 6.1 to 6.2 energy-wise, if we add those two together. So the north side of Japan got up to 6.2's worth of energy. The central part of Japan got 5.0's worth of energy. And in my update 8 days ago, I said, well, I thought Tokyo was going to get the 6 and that Hokkaido would get the 5. But if I was wrong, it would be Tokyo getting the 5s and Hokkaido North getting the 6. So it looks like, I mean, quote unquote, I was wrong, if you want to think of it like that. But I mean, we talked about it, so there it is. So it hit on the north side of the plate boundary. That's, I guess, good too, because it hit out in the ocean. Tokyo getting a 5 offshore. I mean, I doubt anybody even felt it. Or if they did, it was just a regular day at the office. Now, looks like things are going to go back up, at least magnitude wise. We're still waiting for 2 more days, or about 48 hours, for this large earthquake to develop next to our deep earthquake locations. That puts us in Solomon Islands. And all week long, here's the last things that hit, like 5 days ago. So for the whole week now, we're looking at 5.0 and greater. Now let's take it down a notch to 4s. You'll see there's an intermittent stepping stone path of 4s across the area, but on all sides, it's just, I mean, it's pretty obvious that this is the area that's gone quiet in the past few days. New Zealand south, well, south of New Zealand, La Esperance, or however you say it, 5.4 to 5.5. That's on the plate boundary just south of New Zealand. North side of New Zealand, up through the Kermadec, up into Tonga and Fiji, right next to our deep earthquake location. That's where we're kind of swarming out with a whole bunch of 5s. Now look at this stepping stone path of equidistantly spaced 5s going all the way across the South Pacific, reaching up to South America. And another 6, or 5.9, striking today, or last night, this morning, Central America. And 5 spreading out across down to our letter X, halfway up to the north, also along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the South Mid-Atlantic. And just looking at it this way, the stepping stone path of earthquakes going across, going back over and up, down, across, and back up. It's pretty obvious. And it goes around South America to the south. So a lot of movements going on pretty much from here to here. Opposite sides of the planet, antipodes of one another. And then a lot of movement started to pick up over in the West Pacific, going out of the Pacific over towards Sumatra into the Indian Ocean. And you may remember in my update from several days ago, there was not much here. It was completely open. Now, Sumatra and Java filled in by multiple 4s and a 5 in the middle of the whole hot mess. Now, Luatobi volcano blew its top over here to the east, over at the east side of Indonesia. That's a large eruption. I have not checked the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center list in a long time, so I need to go look at that, but we're not going to do that now. Just letting you know, Luatobi Blue, I saw a video on that from Stephen Burns. Now, look at this going around the south side of the Indo Australian plate boundary, or north side of the Antarctic plate boundary. Multiple fours, and coming to a pinnacle out here over to the west side of the Indo Australian, going right up into the Gulf of Aden, next to Yemen and Saudi Arabia, going back up on the east side of Iran, over into the east, over into Pakistan. And we'll just look at it this way. We'll back it out and say it's kind of doing the same thing that we're talking about over here, the stepping stone path of earthquakes going across this way over to South America. And we could say it's doing the same thing going up to Japan. I mean, not just say, I mean, you can see it. The equidistant spacing on the earthquakes. It's not how I'm placed. I can even turn the rings off. The rings just help us see the equidistant spacing a little bit better, I think, because of the overlapping nature of them. But if you were to measure them, I mean, you'd say it looks like a domino stack. So going over to the west, we have 4.9s at 5s, 4.9s at 5, 4.9 at 5. I'm showing you everything 4.9, 4.5 and greater. So it's 4.95, 4.95, 4.95, and over towards the Mideast. So up in the north, we were watching at Nepal. This is another spot that we were looking at for this week, and we're nearing the end of the forecast. I mean, we're pretty much at the end. We have 48 hours to go. It's looking for a significant sized earthquake to strike here. And nothing all week. Take it down and just make sure there's no smaller earthquakes. I mean, nothing making the USGS feed of any significance 4.0 or greater. So that's somewhat odd, wouldn't you say? Looking for up to a 6 to hit here, 5.9. Over to the west we go, and again, we're getting to the near end of the forecast, if not at the end. And instead of 5s or 5.9s, we got 4s, and it went radio silence out of Iran. This is the first earthquake actually being reported there in a little while, actually, that 4.2. That's from a few days back, but nothing, nada. Instead, over to the east, you can see it. That's up at the India border and down to the south. It's somewhat equidistantly spaced, so nothing weird going on in Iran. I'm not saying that's military related. We were looking for this before the whole mess started. It's been 8 days on a 10-day forecast this time. What else is going on? Let's go over to the west. Check out Europe. So Greece started to move, going up to the north, off the west side of the Aegean Sea and south side of the Aegean Sea. There's Crete on the south side and Greece on the west side. And it's all about the same size so far. Now I'm going to look for this to go up to the north by northwest. This means Bosnia, Albania, Slovenia, or Slovakia, and Austria. We need to watch in those areas, but mainly in the Bosnia area, down here to the south next to Albania. And the magnitude on this should be 4.6 plus 4.3. We're at 4.73. So let's just say 4.7. Upper 4 to low 5 should be striking in Central Europe very soon. And I'm still watching for Iran. Again, we're down to the end of the forecast, but I never say never until the end. Same for over here in the United States. So we're looking for up to a 5.9 to strike in Southern California. And it's very rare that we're looking for this to happen. And this goes back to this last week's movement, the 5 down at Mexico, down at the Mexico volcanic field. And then we saw the 4 up here in the northwest off the coast. But Southern California, it could be a flop for me. I mean, again, we're going to get 7 to 10 days on this. But we're on day 8, 48 hours to go. Southern California, let's look at all the smaller earthquakes. Wow, okay, hold on. Let's turn down the rings. See if anything stands out. And we might need to actually look a few of these up just to see where they're striking, see if there's anything significant at the locations. When I've got a warning going from east of LA, out in the Mojave, down south to San Diego, and it was for up to 5.9, 7 to 10 day watch, 8 days in. Again, I've got family that lives down here. I wonder where the energy is going, right? We'll find out. Let's go turn on a display capture so you can see what I see ever so slightly better. And zoom in. Okay, so LA Basin itself looks pretty quiet over the last 48 or a little bit more hours. That's the green area here at the center of the screen. And then all of these smaller earthquakes, let's see, let's start right here to the east. 1.8 east of LA, and just get an idea of where they're hitting. Yorba Linda. Oh, gosh. Of all the dang places to pull. Okay, well, there's a little story on this. I'll zoom in and tell you. So, a few years ago, I want to say about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, maybe even longer, right here in the Yorba Linda, California area, right, let's just back this out a little bit. There we go. So, see where it says Anaheim Hills and right down through here? See this? Periaita Hills and the substation and all this. Oh, there were a series of earthquakes that struck across Yorba, going up to the north, across Olinda and Sleepy Hollow. And when they struck, I went and looked up some of the information on the area. And professionals had said the earthquakes were not related to any kind of drilling or any kind of anything. But the location that I looked up, which was again just to the south, right down here, that it was actually drilled for gold. And there was a guy that normally did petroleum exploration and it was doing drilling down here for oil and gas. And he branched off and started doing exploratory drilling for gold. And he basically was originally looking for gas and he found gold. That's the story, basically, the story. Now, I don't want to go too much into it because it's not at the location itself, just remembering that Yorba Linda is the spot where the gold, and they capped it off with, like, he drilled down a few hundred feet and he found gold. He actually did find gold there and he reported it to the appropriate authorities. I don't know whatever happened to that, but I remember hearing something about them dumping a bunch of industrial acid down into the wells that were drilled there. And I think that was to probably dissolve the rock to probably get to the gold. I don't know. It's just a supposition on my part. So that's the story on that one. Let's go over to Baldwin Park and just go see what's going on in Baldwin Park, California. Get the heck out of Yorba Linda, can we? Man, I got in a lot of trouble for talking about that because of the gold aspect. When we found the gold thing, it was like well hidden, and then they were dumping the industrial acid in the ground there, obviously to go break apart the ground, but not telling the public. Okay, there we go. So we're on the edge of an aquifer and a dam complex here. Now, I do recall this is where they were scooping the water to go fight the fires that happened up here. You guys remember the big fires that happened up here? And I remember watching them. They had a helicopter, series of helicopters that were going down into this reservoir in particular and picking up water to go fight the fires. That was live on TV. Well, there we are. We're at the spot where the aquifer pours in, and water weight earthquakes are possible, but these are also along fault lines that are, the lowest point kind of thing, or the lowest point in a high area that allows the water to flow downhill. And those areas, fault zones tend to move, and you'll see there's like a line of these small earthquakes that's going along there. So that's a fault, not, it goes off of where the reservoir is up into the mountains there. That's where all the other 1.6s are going. It's about a couple miles of small earthquakes moving on a fault there. Okay, so we have one fault moving for sure there. I want to get the name on that and just kind of remember that. Let's see. Let's see if it's even named. The USGS does a good job on naming these, actually. So let's go see what they've got here. Should be able to move my mouse over the fault and get the name on it in some way or another, right? Okay, let's go. Hold on. Let's go down and again and take a look. Turn faults. And again, it doesn't really matter. I just want to see if there's like a well-known fault through the area. Oh, wait. Well, okay, there's 1,000 to look. If I zoom in, you'll see, you get the picture. There's like 1,000 of them to choose from. Never mind. We're not looking to get that retentive on this. I just want to see if there's any well-known fault there. So we're right off of the San Andreas. We're to the south. It could be called the Yorba Linda Fault for all I know. It's your fault, not mine. Let's Let's go down to the east-southeast. So if we're moving along one here, it looks like the rest are also moving to east-southeast. If you were to connect these in the game of connect the dots, kind of tell you the story that it's moving and it's moving pretty significant. You guys remember several months ago when it went quiet? When there was like just a few down here, like a handful in a couple days? I'm talking like there was like 5 or 6 reported in a couple days. Look at it now, right? And look where we're swarming. So I see a swarm out here. Let's go get a coordinate for this. This is a big old stack of earthquakes out there in the middle of nowhere. A place called Johannesburg, California. It's far east of LA, but let's just go take a gander and see what's there. Inquiring minds would like to know. Okay, what's this? Reaction research site. Wait, amateur rocketry site here? And a rocket research site at the location. Oh man. We're along the Garlock Fault, and I don't see much else here except for the test range over to the west northwest. And this gets into military. You get out here, you've got the China Lake test range here for Boeing. You've got the rocket test sites for NASA. And you've got a few other things out here that, I mean, again, we could talk all day about experimental aircraft, and that's where we are now, along a fault, though. And then, of course, look what we have here, a boatload of solar power generation. These are all solar panels. Look at that. Huge, massive solar generation. And it looks like we have a car test range of some kind. What's the name of this place? The Honda Proving Site of California to top it all off. We got a giant loop antenna. You bet you that the military would build some kind of low frequency loop antenna into this, and they would just use this as an excuse to have it. Come on, think about it, right? Here's China Lake, here's the test site, and then you build a giant loop antenna here, and you have a power there to power it, right? Just say it. Ah, that's my conspiracy mind. Oh, Dutchsinse, the conspiracy theorist. All right, whatever you say, bub. All right, just chance, right? Yeah, right. Just like the loop antenna tracks on both sides of all the Native American mounds are chance too, right? Never mind. They've got a stack of earthquakes there. I don't know what to tell you. It's not rockets. This is several kilometers down in the crust. Next to it is the fault, but next to it is a large power generation facility. And I'm telling you right now, that thing's a giant VLF antenna built into the ground. And they need that amount of power to power that damn thing. All right, let's go up to the north. That would be a conspiracy of half if I'm actually right on that. I know I'm right on that. It's just I will never be able to prove it. First supposition of it right now is me. I guarantee you no one else has said it. Let's go up to the north, see what's here. Let's turn on all the volcanoes at this point because this is going to matter about now. Take a look at the screen. See this? It's a ravine, isn't it? Now we're going to back it out. You're going to see 2 peaks. We're going to back it out some more. And then you're going to see something appear here. A bunch of volcanoes going in a crescent-like shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one over here. I'm going to back it out a little bit more, and then you're going to see down here on the south side of this crescent shape, there's a giant circular laccolith in the mountains itself. And a laccolith is a bulge point in the plate that where magma intrudes and pushes it up, and sometimes they collapse. Other times they stay inflated for a long time. But let's go zoom in on like this, for instance. See Red Hill volcano here, and then let's turn all of our volcanism place marks on. There we go. Golden Trout Creek volcano marked from the Smithsonian here. We'll zoom in on it. Here's Golden Trout Creek volcano. And right next to it, a few miles away to the east, is Red Hill volcano. It's just an older version of it. They're 2 of the same size and shape volcanoes next to each other. Then we go over to the east and we have Templeton Mountain and Monash Mountain, and they are also similar size and shape and likely age. Ancient volcanoes there. And there And then in between them is Brown Mountain Volcano, which I don't even think looks like a volcano, but there it is. So we have a crescent of volcanoes going from Golden Trout Creek to Red Hill to Templeton Mountain to Brown Mountain to Monash Mountain. And then our big laccolith down here, and that completes a half of a circle or a half of an oval. And on the other side is Soda Butte Volcano, which again, to call it a volcano now, I mean, this was a volcano a very, very, very long time ago. Soda Butte, with the effervescence in the water around there. So let's back it out one more time. And what is this? This is a giant ancient caldera from a long time ago. And this is a ravine in between. The USGS has no fault marked through here, even though it goes all the way to the north and connects up to our other volcanic field, Big Pine Volcanic Field to the north, with Crater Mountain. These are well preserved and more like a Death Valley type scenario here. Some of these coming off the sides of the ancient mountains, very old, and then younger lava flows, of course, popping off the side of the magma chamber on the side. So this down here is yet undiscovered by professionals as an ancient caldera. There's no name to it. You could call it Mount Dutch 3.0 because I found two others. But up to the north, it's obvious this connects to the north. Just by a few miles, you would have to go through the mountains here to connect between this volcanic field, down through this ravine, quote unquote, which they don't mark as a fault, but it obviously is, goes right through the center of this ancient caldera. And guess where it ultimately connects to through here? To this. The same size and shape. And this is the well-known Long Valley supervolcano, the caldera for it. So compare this, we can even measure it in, let's measure it in miles, Long Valley, from Mano Inyo craters across to the other side. Well, if I can click on something to measure from. Dang, it was hard. You hear how many times I'm clicking to try and get that to measure? 29.22 miles. Okay, why does that matter? Because we're going to go down here and measure from Soda Butte over to Brown Mountain. Oh, now it does it easy peasy. 22.6. So they're about the same size. One's much more ancient. This one's much more pronounced. The professionals know about this one. They've measured the magma chamber down below it. That's classifying it as a supervolcano. And then the third one up to the north, which is at the Nevada, Northern California border. Let's turn off our borders really quick. This. It's kind of hard to see. There we go. This is in between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake, and this is an ancient caldera that is double in size to the one to the south, Long Valley, and the more ancient one down in the middle of the mountain range. So this is all pretty wild, isn't it? Right? Like the professionals haven't found this one yet. It's obviously an ancient caldera. Look, it's lined with volcanoes and laccoliths all the way around it. Topping it all off on the west side of these. So west side of Long Valley, west side of whatever you want to call this, Mount Dutch 3.0, and the west side of this one up here, we have other volcanic features. To the west of Long Valley, you have to look for it, but it's right here. A giant bulging circular laccolith that's about the same size, laccolith-wise, as the supervolcano across from it. And another collapsed one down to the south right here from a long time ago. Laccolith collapsed. And then down to the south we have this one. Like I said, this one has a laccolith next to it that's collapsed. This one has a laccolith next to it that's still bulging. And the massive one up to the north, next to it, is just a huge volcanic complex that some would think was tied to Lassen, but they mix and they come together right here at Sugarloaf. So that all being said, the earthquakes go right along that path. Look, the path that I just showed you from up here in Northern California on the west side, going through the center of that giant ancient caldera between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake, then going down to the south, spreading down to the supervolcano at Lake Tahoe, or I'm sorry, down to Long Valley, And then across over at the laccolith that I just showed you, the bulge, then down to the south, we go to the other ancient supervolcano. There's nothing next to it over in the valley yet, but over to the east, let's go look up this one. Whoops, it's a zero. It's a zero point 0 or a zero point 0.1. Basically, it's nothing. It's the computer telling us nothing is happening here at Kozo Junction. But let's go take a look and see what's at nothing is going on at Kozo Junction and see if there's something there. See if there's something where there's nothing. Kozo Volcanic Field, you mean? Yes. Why, yes, I'm talking to myself, and this is just absolutely wonderful. Now, there's a quarry here, an old quarry, but it's not listed as a quarry blast, and it's several kilometers down in the plate. Next to it are all these bulging obsidian buttes. And these are laccoliths in their own right. Someday, those will turn into something like this. And there's one even bulging out the top of Volcano Peak that at some point in the future will erupt and do something like that. Or out the side, like this. Or like the others down further down. Pretty wild looking place, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so where are we? We're in Eastern California, southeast, and we're next to all those earthquakes. That's where the zero, and this line of earthquakes goes right down into China Lake, down here to the zero point 0.8. Searles Valley is the location, but it's just east-southeast of Ridgecrest, California, which got the huge, massive earthquake, the biggest in California in 20 years, a few years ago. This place got hit with one of the bigger earthquakes for California's history. And there we are. So where are we? We're at Fish Rocks. What's this place? Wasn't that swell? A cultural landmark. What? At Trona, California. I guess that's a native site. Hold on. Hold on. Uh, Pinnacles in a native site. Well, there's a lot of native sites, so I guess we'll just, at this point, we'll just chalk it up as being at next to Searles Valley and the rocket test facilities that they built out here. And if you guys aren't familiar with the rocket test sites and the bunkers and all that good stuff, don't want to get into it too hard now. But we're in between the two. This is a giant open pit mine here, open evaporatory mine where they're doing, well, this is like tailing pools and salt flats. They do a lot of that out there. A little bit of everything. Arsenic ponds, just all kinds of wonderful stuff there. And that's what we're looking at. So a line of earthquakes that goes from volcano to volcano to volcano to volcano and connects down across and dead ends into the Garlock Fault. Then we pick back up with that big stack of earthquakes out there next to the VLF antenna that's also doubling as a racetrack with the huge power generation facility next to it. And let's go out here into the desert and just take a quick look because, this site right here where the other zeros are, whenever I see a stack of, oh, this is a negative earthquake, magnitude negative 0.2. Now that they'd say that's due to a calculation error, not an error, but it's basically a very small microquake towards the surface, 3.4 kilometer depth, but it's not an explosion. And when you see what's here, a negative earthquake just raises the eyebrows because of what's at the location. So let's go take a look. All right, you ready? This has been in the news a lot lately just because of, all this stuff. So see where it says Project Pluto Test Bunker? Let's click on that. It's a historical, oh, they don't have a picture of it. Okay. Historical landmark for the nuclear test sites that are here. And if you're not aware of the nuke test sites, over to the east, we have this. This is called Doomtown. And you may be familiar with the nuke test site there, where they blasted away things on the surface. However, here are all the underground nuke test sites, all of these craters. And we can open up the information from the Google Earth community and just randomly get a name on one of these. U.S. nuke Operation Potrillo, June 21st, 1973, 200 kilotons. That's a big one. Some of these are smaller in the single kiloton range, and the megaton test sites were over here, which we did with the UK and France. And Area 51 is on the other side, right here. So, that being said, earthquakes, nothing is happening there. But these are not due to underground nuke tests. A negative earthquake, they're sucking in energy. It's the black hole vortex they created down below. I'm joking. I'm just kidding. There'll be people that actually go with that. I don't really think that that's there, guys. Again, it's a bunch of small earthquakes on man-made faults. There could even be collapsing going on still in many of those locations. Let's go down into Arizona now, because this one's really interesting to me. We haven't seen any activity at this location in the entire time that I've been online. No earthquake activity here in 15 years that I've been doing broadcast. As far as I know, nothing at this location. So we're going down to Arizona, western Arizona. What is here? Ooh, a giant. Is this a reservoir of some kind? A giant lake. What is the name of this? Well, it's the Colorado River. Huh. Looks like a lake, doesn't it? Lake Mead. Ah. Okay. Lake Mead, water weight earthquakes. This is actually filling up, from what I understand, that they are actually filling this up, or it's been filling, or it's going up in water level. And that can increase earthquake activity. Another example of this is a series of zeros, ones, and twos that struck southern Missouri down here at Bull Shoals Lake, which I think is this. Yeah, Bull Shoals Lake. And it filled with a bunch of water and got a bunch of small earthquakes, as faults can become activated by a great amount of water placed on them if they're primed. But it requires priming. It means that there has to be some kind of already some tension in the area, or in this case, when I think of it as the wave in the plate, that if the wave in the plate is going underneath a body of water, if there's a greater amount of water in it, it would make sense that there could be activation due to the weight of the water. The weight of the water on the wave would then attract the wave to the surface due to pressure of the water pressing down and attracting the wave that's not pressure induced, the wave itself in the plate, but electrical in nature. Okay. Utah. Well, okay, we know what's up at southwest Utah. Let's just go take a quick look on Google Earth. Let's bring this back due north. There we go. So here's Utah and southwest Utah. We have a series of earthquakes occurring from Pine Valley in here, by next to Twin Peaks, and Cinder Cone, Santa Clara, and so forth. These are volcanoes here, obviously. Take a look at that. And the other one here goes right along the highway, or they built the highway right along it. Yeah, let's see if we have a ground level. Do we? Wonder what it looks like. Let's take a look. See it. See if you can see it. Well, there's the volcano. There's the lava flow, the ancient lava flow. Look at that. Well, plenty of igneous rock, plenty of lava rock for everybody on the whole planet. You wouldn't believe how much there is. I can't believe they even charge for this stuff, right? Black and red cinder. Doesn't make any sense, guys. There's so much of it everywhere. It's not even funny. All right, let's go over to the east and go see where this 2.3 is located. What's at where this 2.3 is located? Hilldale, Utah. Again, I just showed you the one, but I don't know what's exactly to the southeast of there. Let's go see. Okay, we're just on the other side of Gray Knoll Butte volcano. Let's go take a look at that. Here's Gray Knoll Butte. Oh, look at that. Digging her out. There's probably some gold in there, guys. Digging for gold. All right, let's hold on, hold on. Okay, I know I'm being goofy. Warrior's Walk, what's this? Oh no. Dude, Black Rock Scenic Spot, but Warrior's Walk. The Canaan Mountain. Canaan. And Zion's Tiny Getaway is what is going on here? What is going on here, guys? Hold on. First of all, there's Gray Knoll again. They're mining it out looking for gold, right? Or cinder for selling lava rock. But all right, let's just opens up a whole can of worms, guys. Now I could spend all day doing this kind of stuff right here, doing analysis, but let's just see if there's anything worth mentioning. Water Canyon Arch, Scenic Spot, Canaan Mountain, Black Rocks, Warriors Walk. Boy, I'll tell you what, guys. You start finding stuff like this at the locations where the earthquakes are happening. That to me gets to a new level of strangeness. There we go, right? Okay, you can follow this. I bet it goes. I bet if we were to follow this on Google Earth, we'll be able to actually like we'll find something that's like been hidden or something. Wait, look. Seriously now. Seriously, I'm not joking. I'm not kidding, guys. Look, I don't like doing this kind of stuff because I'll get in trouble. Okay, you get in trouble when you find this kind of stuff because they have to put like a reservation on the area. Look, we got a spiral mound here. Look, it is. I'm not kidding. Look, see, I am not joking. Look, they even have plantings in certain areas. Oh God, oh my God. Look, there's carvings in the rocks here, and this is far away from where that trail is. I bet people haven't realized this whole area is geosculpted. Look at this. Oh my God. You just have to know what to look for and then you start finding it. Look down in here. Look at this. Look at the structures. Look at that. Oh shit. Hidden structures up here in the hills, guys. Look at that. Where are we? I don't know if I want to tell you, man. You guys go loot the place. You guys all be up there digging for freaking artifacts and show me where. No, don't go there, but I'll show you where it is. Let's bring this back due north. We're east southeast of Gray Knoll, east northeast of Colorado City, outside of Hilldale, back up here in the mountains, and you wouldn't want to go there, obviously. I mean, unless you know what you're doing, because look where it is. This place, Warriors Walk, is where I started, and then I followed Warriors Walk back where it looks like it ends right there. And if you go this way, it brings you down into this ravine, which then brings you down to what looks like little structures down here in the bottom of the valley and at the top, built into the rocks. And then if you go a little bit further over here, you certainly have them. And around this way. So this whole thing, I can't believe it, right? Like it's not marked. There's no markings on this. As far as I know, it just has that as Warriors Walk. And look, they got a trail going this way, like a current trail that just goes on for miles into the wilderness there. But man, that's where the earthquake is. Ah, somewhere in between there. You start finding stuff like this, it's just awesome. And the earthquakes are how I'm finding a lot of this stuff, which is just crazy in its own right. I bet you they built the native sites where they detected earthquakes before. Like if they're there and then an earthquake hits, they then make note of it. Native does, somebody does, they mark it or somehow know the location. and relay that back to other people, and they build a site there. That to me makes more sense than the site causing the earthquake, doesn't it? Like they were there and they felt the earthquake on a small level. But I mean, how would you feel a one or a two? It'd have to be bigger earthquakes then. Or they were really sensitive to it, or they had a device that could detect earthquakes. Maybe they had the. What's this? Ah, cattle. Okay. Anything else worth mentioning? Once Upon a Time in America Museum. The Gunsmoke movie set. What a place, right? Red Knoll Volcanic Butte, White Tower Volcano, Black Knoll Volcano, and Bald Knoll. Bald Knoll is the youngest of a group of basaltic cinder cones on the southwest part of the Ponsagunt Plateau in southern Utah. There, up here. This is the most well pronounced one. And lava flow. Look at that lava flow. Covered in trees now. Okay. Black Knoll over here, more ancient. Cinders at the top still. Huh. Go camp there at night, right? Like get a little geothermal for yourself. Ooh, White Tower Volcano. Look at the old. Whoa. That's wild. White Tower Volcano. That's cool. If I were to go anywhere, put this on the bucket list. All right. Hashtag Tartaria. Oh boy, wow. You see all kinds of cool stuff. I'll have to remember that one. Where are we again? Well, let's get this proper due north. Because there's going to be people who probably want to go to these places. If you're an adventurous person, I guess you could probably get permission to go to these spots. There we go. Well, let's go look at Red Knoll really quick. This is what Red Knoll looks like. Ancient weathered cinders from a long time ago. It's got a road that goes up it, I guess, to a radio tower on top of it. And then White Tower Volcano is this one here with the cool. Man, what could cause that, right? Ah, this was a dump pile for the Tartarian. It was where the giant of the giants lived. And then we have volcanoes next to it, all the way up back into the mountains, which then goes over to a huge volcanic field on the other side, which is the Markagunt Plateau. All right, you guys learning something? Volcanoes, earthquakes related as the ancient volcanic chambers get excited as or perturbed as the seismic wave flows through them. Let's go out to Carlin, Nevada and go see what's there. Don't exactly know what's in Carlin, Nevada. Or whoa, whoa. I accidentally just turned on my radio. Yes, I've got a radio here in the office. That's the way you want it, baby. Okay. The way you put you on the run. What a song to turn it on to, right? Like, okay, all right, it's gonna be a good night tonight. Rock and roll, baby. Rock and roll. What's going on here? Hold on. Is this 1.7 kilometer depth? Now, this is a deep pit mine. Hold on. It doesn't go down 1.7 kilometers deep though. Here, hold on. Optical illusion there. Jeez. Look at this thing. Now, how deep does that go? Only 700 feet deep. 700 to 800 feet deep. Pit mine though. Oh wait, whoa, hold on. 1,000 feet deep there. We'd still have to go 3 times deeper for it to be like directly for the facility. So I would think there's a fault down below And man-made facilities like this one is about 1,000 feet deep as well here. We're going 1,000 feet down to the ground. Let's go look up. There we go. Whoa. Well, that's great. Google can't even do it. All right. So the earthquake is next to these giant open pit mine facilities, and man-made faults can be activated. Now, next to it is Big Butte Volcano. I know there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to crack a bunch of jokes right now. No cracking. Nothing, no talk about cracks either. Big Butte. Big Butte. It's Big Butte. Now, what do we have next to it? Well, looks like we have another mine with a few pools next to it. Maybe we got gold going on here. What is going on there? Do we have a name on it? No name, as far as I know. No name on the facility. Well, old volcano, facility with water, huge mine here. I don't know what they're extracting here. Let's go find out. Open pit mines near Elko. The Barrick Gold Strike. Well, what would they spend a bunch of money on to go that deep for, guys? Well, it turns out gold. Alrighty then. Let's carry on up to the west-northwest. I know what's at this location, Bittner Butte and Blowout Mountain. Fort Bidwell, California, but we're on the Nevada side of the border, just south of Oregon, actually. So they have it triangulated from California, but this is in Nevada, south of Oregon. Take a look. So triangulated out of California over here, but really, now I said Bittner Butte and Blowout Mountain. So they're right next to each other. This ridge goes down and connects and on the edge of the ancient lava flows for Bittner Butte. There's the ancient tuftage on top, what's left of the ancient undersea volcano that makes up Bittner Butte, and you can see the old black basalt and still probably some red igneous rock in there actually, but this was underwater at some point. You can see where it flowed out. And next to it, we have other more ancient lava flows. So let's just zoom in and show you. And that's off of other ancient volcanoes that aren't even marked there. Blowout Mountain is to the east, and it did indeed blow out at some point in the past and had a very thick, viscous lava that came out with it. It looks like it's happened a few times in the past, too. That was when it was underwater, blew out when it was underwater. This was all underwater, and this was an ancient inland ocean. All of the, well, hold on, you can't even see it with all the volcanoes. This was all an ancient inland ocean at some point, and it is the remnants are Salt Lake, but all this was underwater at some point. And that's when that volcano first started. Whenever this volcano goes here, we have to look for activity out off the coast. So it's kind of like a forewarning sign when we see activity next to Bittner Butte that we watch out off the coast for new activity to develop. That's bigger. In this case, we have a 1 there, so anything bigger than that won't even really matter, will it? I don't even know if they'll report it unless it's a significant sized earthquake out there. Up in Washington, our biggest earthquake of the bunch is a 2, and that's on the Seattle Fault, or just north of the Seattle Fault at the Olympic Peninsula. Going down to here, just minor, small activity, 0s and 1s, just a bunch of small earthquakes around Mount Rainier. Mount St. Helens has gone somewhat quiet in the past couple days, but we had a few earthquakes there as well. That's normal. If we didn't see activity there, I would start to worry. But in this case, I'm not watching there for significant activity. It would be Vancouver Island out to the axial seamount is where we would watch for significant activity if it was going to hit in the northwest. Down in Southern California, though, let's just get it back to where we're watching. We're watching Southern California for another day, basically, for up to a 5.9. And at this point, we're only at 3s. So it's 2.5 magnitudes under so far, magnitude-wise. Location-wise, it's all pointing to Southern California still. But if we get till like tomorrow night going into, let's see, Friday? Yeah, Thursday into Friday. If we get to Friday and the earthquake has not hit, I will cancel the warning for Southern California and try and figure out where I got it wrong, but don't count it out. Again, I've learned many times on the last day, 10 days into the forecast. I don't normally do full 10-day forecast. That's the other thing is I normally do 7-day forecast. But on the deep earthquakes, the way they're going with the solar activity that was happening this past week, it's a 7 to 10 day forecast with the deep earthquakes and so forth. Now, this deep earthquake here, I'll just leave us with this, is this one here is new. It's a new deep 5 that's taken place here. And so deep 5 means shallower, larger earthquake next to it. And that gets me back to the start of the update, which is this is the spot we're looking for a large earthquake to hit this week. Upper 6, low 7. And so far, radio silence, which is just bizarre. Meanwhile, Japan moved somewhat as expected. I'd say we're within the magnitude at each spot, and it did the flip flop that I talked about 8 days ago. Whether it would be Tokyo or Hokkaido, well, now we know. Story of my life. If you give me a choice to make a 50-50, always wrong. I have the worst luck in the world, so you can't use the luck to explain how I've got an earthquake forecast correct. We tested my luck. Here's a funny story if you're new. To test a professor, we'll leave him unnamed, a top professor in the industry who runs or ran a whole segment of the USGS, said I was lucky. And that's how I got my earthquake forecasting correct. And I decided to scientifically test to see if I was lucky. You know how you find out if you're lucky or not? Now, there'll be the real science buffs who'll say, flip quarters for 1,000 times and we'll see, that kind of stuff. Well, I went one step higher, guys, because quarters could be weighted. You know what you just can't cheat? Scratch off lotto tickets. So I had my viewers send scratch off lotto tickets from all over the world to me here in St. Louis. And I got on my live stream and we scratched them all off live. Everybody watching me scratch to see if I was lucky. Turns out I'm not only not lucky, I'm super unlucky. And I only one of them actually cashed in for $20. And you had to take it to the gas station or wherever they bought it from in California to get the $20. It would cost more for me to send the ticket back to the person who sent it to me. They'd have to go down and cash it in. Then they'd have to somehow get it in a check form because you don't want to mail cash across the country. And yeah, so am I lucky? No. And then all the other bad New World Order stuff happened. Hell no, I'm not lucky. Ask my wife if I'm lucky. She'll tell you. Hell no. Not just no. That being said, luck schmuck. You guys will wait one more day and we'll see if the earthquake activity we're looking for develops in Southern California. All the other signs are there. 6.0 level activity off the coast of South Central America or South Mexico in Central America next to Guatemala, El Salvador. Both sides, 5.4 to 5.5 on one side. That's right next to El Salvador. And then over to the west, northwest, or South Mexico, a 6 along the plate boundary. That's significant for the area. It's not huge, but it's significant. If it struck on land, it would matter. Luckily, it struck out in the ocean. But you can see where the activity is. It's spread across South America, as we would expect, a stepping stone path of 5s, going all the way back down and around to our letter X. X marks the spot got hit, down at South Sandwich Islands, and then halfway up. Well, halfway up to what? To our other X. I would expect these other X's to get filled in the next few days. Where's all our activity from the North Pole through Iceland, down through the Azores, down to Ascension Island? That would be 4 more 5s that need to strike in the next few days. So I think it's going to be busy in the next few days. I think we're going to pick up from where we were. That was the forecast 8 days ago in a 10-day forecast. So we'll see. And if anything develops significantly in the next few hours or days, of course, I'm here. I'm watching. If I hear something ding that's huge, I'll jump back on and do an emergency update. We'll record it and put it on YouTube. At some point, I will record another video, but I'm waiting until the end of my forecast before I do that for YouTube. So we're live here on Twitch. You guys get a live update. I'm not recording this now, but I will record an update in a day and a half, 2 days at the most, and get that out on YouTube as to whether or not my forecast was a success or not. We keep going either way. That's how you learn. And if you want to learn how to do your own forecasting, we were able to get AI to do it down within a magnitude and within 200 miles or 260 miles. The AI Grok was able, I'm not disparaging AI, the AI Grok was able to do the primitive earthquake forecasting, finding the halfway points between areas and then calculating the magnitude expected. And it got it right within 263 miles and within zero point 0.8 of what hit 2 days later. So AI can do it. If you want to do it, you can follow the step-by-step instructions. It's no secret how to do an earthquake forecast and how to do it yourself. And then, of course, follow up. You've got to keep track if the area gets hit. And if it doesn't get hit, you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out where the energy is gone. If it doesn't go where you expect it to go, following the plate boundaries and craton edges, for instance, then you need to get into why. Look at the locations and follow the track of earthquakes and follow the path. You'll find out it goes to volcanoes and power stations and VLF antennas that are next to military research sites. Or, I'm sorry, racetracks that are next to it. Racetracks. Yeah, that's the ticket. Racetracks. Yeah, Dutch. Yeah, that's the ticket. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, good evening. Are you guys good? How was the update? Did it sound okay? Hold on. Let's go over to Twitch and just say hi to the whole crowd. I haven't logged in on Twitch in a minute, so I might not be logged in. There we are. I mean, I go into the chat room on Twitch. I've got the back end open, but that's different. So we got about 70 people here on Twitch. That's a lot. That's a lot. You know, I'm like one of the more well-kept secrets on the internet, don't you know? And then again, earthquakes are somewhat of a dry topic that people aren't interested in unless a big earthquake is hit, and in which case then 1,000 million people show up out of the blue, but otherwise nobody wants to know when an earthquake's coming. They all want to know about the earthquake after it hit. Go figure. Just ask Steve Lookner about that. By the way, I've been sitting over in Lookner's chat watching the end of the world happen every night. Jeez. Apocalypse Now again. Apocalypse Now Reloaded. Actually, it's more than Reloaded. Okay, it's Apocalypse Now Reloaded Revolutions V2.0 Better, Faster, Stronger. Okay. End of the World Reloaded. Yeah. End of the World Better, Faster, Stronger. I like it. Let's say hi to everybody here. We have ShareBear411. We have Red Split Rail Fence. I don't know how to say it, but Siobhan, okay? Risen One Sun. Hello.